Hello, and thank you for joining us. You're watching the Indie Lounge, the TV show that gives a spotlight to indie artists. I'm your host, Mandy Del Rio, and today we are joined by multi-talented indie artist, Zara Phillips. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about your life and your career and your upcoming projects. So Zara, you are a very busy woman. You are an author, a playwright, singer-songwriter, you're a TV host, you're a filmmaker, and on top of that, you're a mom. So how do you do it, Wonder Woman? Please tell us.
Well, I think, all those things that you have said, I didn't do them all in the same week or on the same day.
Right.
Because that would have been impossible. So I tend to go from one project to the next. I like to have something. It's like, well, I need to have something really, to work on. That's just the way I am, the kind of person I am. And I don't know, I'm just sort of driven like that. And I've always managed, even having my kids, I've just always managed to be able to sort of switch off that side and go work on something else as well.
That's an amazing talent and quality to have. It's tough. It's tough for sure. Let's talk about your current project. You are doing a one-woman show called Beneath My Father's Sky. Yeah. You wrote it. You star in it. And it's being directed, or has been directed by Academy Award nominee Eric Roberts and his wife Eliza. So what can you please tell us all about it?
Yeah, I'll tell you how it came about. I mean, I am adopted, and I do a lot of work in the adoption world where I educate people about the lifelong impact of being adopted, letting go of all this sort of the illusions that people have around adoption. And I had initially written a book called Mother Me, which was all on my experience of finding my birth mother, becoming a mother, and my relationship with my adopted mother. I'd really explored that side personally and talking to other adoptees and people about what that's like for us. And I did that for quite a long time. I would talk a lot about that. And then Beneath My Father's Sky, it was interesting. I had actually started working on a novel, this random thing, this idea that I had. And while I was writing it, the idea for the play was literally tapping me on the shoulder. And I think as a performer, people had said to me, you should write, almost do some kind of a performance around all this adoption stuff, because I would sing about it, I would talk about it, I would read from the book. And then during Sandy, when we had no power for 2 weeks, it's amazing what you can do when you don't have you're not distracted. I literally sat down, and it was like, as any artist knows, when an idea comes, it was tapping me so loudly on the shoulder, and I was like arguing, going, are you crazy? I don't have time for this. And then I sat down, and within a week I wrote the whole thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but it was one of those lucky things that doesn't always happen like that.
Right.
But this thing just came out.
Right.
It was ready.
Isn't that the way it is with artists? It's just all of a sudden you just get the inspiration, and like you said, it taps you on the shoulder, and you can't really get around it until it's out, right?
Yeah, but I love that. I mean, it's hard. Sometimes I'm trying to work on something and it doesn't come like that. So that,
Yeah, yeah. Well, where and now you've been doing this. When did you start doing the
Well,
play?
I just did it. So I basically wrote it, when we had Sandy, got it all ready, had somebody edit it, and then I sent it into a festival, United Solo, which is in New York, last year. And I got accepted, and I was so shocked that I got accepted. That's when I contacted Eric and Eliza, and I said, oh my God, I got accepted into this festival. I've never acted like this. Can you teach me to act in like 3 months? No pressure. And so I went out to LA, where I used to live, and that's where I know them from. And they worked with me. And I mean, I've never been more terrified in my life. So last year I did 2 shows, because I sold out both, which was great. And then at the beginning of this year, I performed it at an adoption conference and a couple of other places in San Francisco and LA. And then I just did a local show where I live in Montclair, New Jersey, and I'm back at the festival again. I've already done one performance and I have another one coming up.
Okay, and when is that, in case we can get this out?
23rd of November at 2 p.m. and I'm closing the festival.
That's great.
And then hopefully, you know, I will definitely do more shows next year.
Yeah.
But it's been a real challenge for me.
I'm sure.
But I love it, and I use my music in the play too, to tell the story.
Great.
And this is all on fathers. What I was meaning to say was I had done a lot on mothers, and I'd never explored the father side.
Right.
So in a way, the play starts where my book ended, and my book ended as my adoptive mother passed away, and the play starts from that point, and how my relationship changed with my adopted father and my feelings about searching for my birth father.
Wow. And that's where the title, Beneath My Father's Sky, it's a beautiful title, by the way.
And well, I think for me, and I know for a lot of adoptees, we always have this feeling of, you know, we all live under the same sky, everybody in the whole world. And for us, that's sometimes our only connection towards our birth parents, is knowing that we know one thing we have in common. They look at the same sky that we do.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So that's sort of where the idea came from. And it's not all heavy. I mean, it's an emotional piece, because, but there's a lot of funny moments too.
Right, and I've seen the behind-the-scenes work you did with Eric and Eliza, and hopefully at some point in our show we can get that clip.
They made me cry in that clip. I'm like,
it's a beautiful clip, though. And is that your music? That is your music playing in it as well?
Because I actually had a song called Big Sky as well. So it all connected, you know. I've been writing the play before I even knew I was writing the play.
That's great, Zara. That's amazing. You also made a documentary. You're a huge advocate within the adoption community.
I am. I mean, especially in America, you know, I'm from England, obviously, as you can tell.
I thought you were faking the accent, but I wasn't going to say anything.
I'm from New Jersey. Birth records are sealed in America, in a lot of states in America, which means adult adoptees cannot get their original birth names. And in England, when I was searching for my birth mother, I could get my birth certificate and find out my birth mother's name. So when I moved here, I was absolutely horrified to find that out. I mean, I couldn't even believe that a country that is so ahead in so many ways was so behind in this basic human rights issue. So I would go to the Senate House and I would talk as an adult adoptee from England saying, you know, we're not these crazy people that are trying to stalk our parents. We're just a normal person that wants to know where we come from.
Right. I mean, that is completely logical. Most people.
Well, it is logical to us, but not to a lot of people.
Right. That's unfortunate. Well, we're going to have to take a short break, but when we come back, I want to talk more about the documentary you made, about your music, the work you've worked with a lot of famous artists. We'll get back into that with the next segment, and then we are lucky enough to have you perform a song for us, so that's how we'll wrap up the second segment. So thank you very much, and we are going to take a short break, but when we come back, we have more with Zara Phillips. Thank you. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, Zara Phillips.
There's my mother in the garden, holding flowers. She is smiling. Sky is changing, clouds are fading. She always liked it when the weather was fine, I know. It took you by surprise. I see the struggle in your eyes, the leaves begin to turn. Close the door as you go, don't look back, there's nothing more. Hold her face in your hands and I will stay here across the city driving fast. You think I'm pretty, leaving tales, leaving kisses, take away that I'm missing. The moon looks down just like it used to on this house. Where until you hold me in your arms. Close the door as you go. Don't look back. There's nothing more. Hold her face in your hands, and I will stay here for a while. Holding flowers, she is smiling. Sky is changing, clouds are fading. She always liked it when the weather was fine.
That was beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
What an honor to sit here and listen to you do that. So I do want to talk more about your musical career.
Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Now that song is in your show.
Yes, yeah.
And on one of your albums too. If you could, your albums.
So it's on You, Me and Us. That was recorded a couple of years ago in LA with Ted Pullman, who's a great producer. The version on the CD is very different than this.
Oh yeah.
But I knew this song really fitted in the play. You know, I actually had a few songs that I'd already written that fitted perfectly in the play. So not to give too much away, but this is like, it just fits.
Oh, yeah, and that
with the story.
I can tell. I mean, it was hard for me to not get emotional. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
And now that's on You, Me and Us, and in the show also. Now you've worked with some amazing artists. I do want to touch on, you know, your past. You were a background vocalist. With,
yeah, I started as a background.
Yes, with to start with somebody like Bob Geldof is pretty amazing.
It was kind of luck actually, because at the time I was just in a band in London, and I met this other girl. She was like, come over for dinner, and then they needed a girl to be in Bob's video. Literally, the record company called and said, do you know another girl that can be in Bob's video?
Nice.
And she said, yeah, I have somebody here now. So the record company came over that night and to look at me, which is a bit embarrassing. You know, I was only 20. And then I got signed up for the video and to do some TV stuff, and then it just went from there, and I ended up working for him for a couple of years.
Wow.
So that was, I mean, it was an amazing experience. Absolutely. And I really had very little, I had no training, so I just threw into it. And then from there, you know, you would meet other bands because we did all these you know, the 80s was just so much fun. You did all these TV shows and festivals, so you were always traveling with all the other bands.
Right.
And from there I got asked to be, I was with John Ilsley from Dire Straits in his video, and
awesome.
a band, Matt Bianco and David Essex, and all these people. Some of them crossed over to America.
Right.
Some of them didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely know Bob Geldof and John Ilsley. That's awesome. And you did a thing with David Duchovny.
Yeah, recently it was quite fun because Eric and Eliza, that directed, they're very good friends with David, and Eliza's son Keaton Simons is a singer-songwriter. They were in New York last year and said, David wants to stand up and do a couple of songs, go down there and do backing vocals. So I was like, it's pretty fun to do.
That's really
So I got
cool.
up there with Keaton and David,
Fun. That does sound like fun.
Yeah.
And now I do want to touch base on your work with DMC, because that ties into the whole adoption thing. If you can please elaborate on that.
Well, that was, I knew Dee from LA when I lived in LA, not realizing he actually lives in New Jersey. And he came with me. Somebody had asked me if I could bring him with to an adoption when we were going to the Senate House to petition the records. And while we were down there, he said, you know, we need to do a song, because that's the way people get to hear about things. That's what changes causes. And of course, can you imagine? He's like, you go write it and come back to me. So to write for DMC, I'm like, oh my God. So I had this other song that I had worked on, and I just had a feeling that was going to fit. And so I went to him, played what I had, and he rapped. In a second, he went, oh, I got it. And he just comes out with this rhyme. We put the song together, we record it in New York, and then we put a video together, which I'm really proud of the video.
That's awesome.
So the song is I'm Legit,
Okay.
and Dee is also adopted. He's a late discovery adoptee. We were both born the same year in different countries.
Oh, amazing.
You know, so it was very powerful, and we made the video, which has been a real hit in the adoption community.
That's
the song
great.
and the video, yeah.
That's great. Well, where can we find out all the information?
Everything is on my website, which is everythingzara.com.
Okay, great. And that's from your book, the play, Beneath My Father's Sky. That's the documentary, and that's the video at DMC. Everything is on there. That's great.
Everything
that's
is
a
on there.
one-stop shop.
Yes,
that's awesome.
That's all you have to do is go there.
Yeah.
That's why the people that were helping me were like, just call it Everything Zara.
I love it. I love it. That's perfect. And then what's next for Zara Phillips?
Well, I'm going to be doing the play again next year, and I'm working, you know, on some more writing.
Okay.
So,
great.
A few things, a bit more acting and singing.
Wait.
And I gig around, you know, so.
Right. And you know, I'll keep folks posted on my website about your career, and that's what we do. We promote indie artists.
I love that.
Zara, thank you so much for coming on the
welcome.
show. You've been just a lovely, delightful guest, and you are just so talented. It's been an honor, and that song is gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, that wraps up the interview portion of our show, but stay with us. We have our own film critic, Todd Staruch, the horror nerd, up next with his review of indie filmmaker Thomas Ryan's Faces. Stick around.
Settle down, settle down. Zara Samuels, what kind of a miserable story is this?
Also, if I'm you.
What's happening is she's gone off too much, and then her.
Just a stone. Mario Lucio Franco, come over here, this lady. She needs to find her father. Mopping your home.
welcome back to the Indie Lounge. I'm your host, Mandy Del Rio, and we are back with our film critic, Todd Staruch, the horror nerd. Hello.
Hello again, Mandy.
Hello. So what have you got for us today, Todd?
Today I'm going to be talking about the film Faces, which is the latest film from writer-director Thomas Ryan of Theater of Terror Productions. Faces centers around Frank Walker. Frank is a guy who's been down on his luck for a long time. No job, no woman in his life, having a hard time paying his rent, and he basically hangs out at the bar just about every night. Then one day he goes home from the bar, and a fellow barfly named Charlie knocks on the door, and basically everything changes. You know how I feel about spoilers. I don't want to do that, so I won't give away too much. But when Charlie comes into Frank's life, Frank realizes his life can go in a different direction. And things actually get better for him. He makes some new friends, shall we say. But the direction that these new friendships take is something that turns out to be very startling. And it all moves towards a pretty amazing conclusion. So that's basically the film in a nutshell.
Right, and so I saw it last night, and I want to know what did you think? What is your take?
Faces immediately became one of my favorite indie films of this year, and Tom Ryan, whose first film, Day 9, came out a couple of years ago and was a very good zombie survival film, Faces represents what I feel is a quantum leap beyond that, both in writing, cinematography, acting, direction, you name it. Tom has taken his game to an entirely new level with Faces.
Yeah.
We've discussed this before. On almost no budget, Tom has brought an amazing film to the screen, and it just goes to show that you don't need to have a huge budget to have a great script, great acting, and great story. Even the effects for what Tom spent on them were pretty amazing. I feel like I'm gushing a bit, but I feel that it's warranted for this film. And when I went to the premiere, I've never seen a reaction before to an indie film premiere as I did with Faces.
Yeah, I agree. I too, I was so impressed. Jack and I both watched it last night, and first of all, Thomas Ryan's awesome, just as a personality. I'm sure he does.
Sorry, Tom.
I'm sure, but through the whole movie, we're like, this is really good. Originality points, like, up the wazoo. I mean, I don't want to give anything away. It's so hard to not give anything away. With this film, it's almost impossible because you want to
tell people sort of what happens. But again, you and I watch a lot of indie films, and a lot of them are really good. And when this one was over, I sat there for a minute and almost said, well, what did I just watch? The story was so original. There's a lot of similar stories, but nothing with the twist that this one takes. So again, Tom really took his game to another level with Faces.
He did, and I personally thought the psychology aspect of that film was done really well. Again, not giving anything away, it seems to me that he studied psychology to a point with the main character, and I thought that was really well conveyed, how, the issues that this guy has. The acting was good, and you know what, I thought for a minute, a couple times, I'm like, is this film? Did he shoot on film? Because it looked so authentic, and I miss film. I miss the 70s, the gritty film, I miss film.
Me too, and I liked it. There's one really great tracking shot. There's a crowded bar shot, which I have a cameo in, by the way. I just thought I'd point that out. There's a really great tracking bar shot where Chris Santiago, the cinematographer, did a great job with that, of just sort of pulling you into the film, and you feel like you're walking through that bar. And another scene where Tom is going down the steps as Frank Walker, and you see it from an onlooker's point of view, and I thought that was a pretty amazing shot. So it just goes to show that with Faces and with Tom Ryan, there's great indie filmmaking out there, and that's why I appreciate a show like this, where basically someone who's a fan like me can come and talk about these films and give them a forum.
Yep, exactly. I actually want to see it again because that's one of those films too. After you watch it, you're like, you get a craving. Like I want to watch it again. I mean, we were talking about it, all last night. So props to Tom Ryan. I mean, that's really, really great. Hopefully we'll see more of Faces. Hopefully, I definitely want to promote it on the site. And I know if you can tell the audience where they can find you again, that would be great.
All right, sure. Just before that, if I may, again, just to give due credit to Tom, the fans can go to Theater of Terror Facebook page to find out all the developments about the film. It's going to be making the film festival circuit the end of this year and the beginning of next year. I know it'll be playing at the Macabre Faire Film Festival on Long Island in January. For other news, people can go to my website, www.horrornerd.net, and they can always find me as the Horror Nerd on Facebook as well, where I have other, film reviews. I hate the term critic, so I'm going to call myself a film reviewer from now on. And the fans can go there and find out what else I'm up to.
Very good, very good. And they can also go to my website to find out more about you. And we do an artist spotlight, and of course we'll plug Faces as well, and Thomas Ryan. So that wraps up our show today. I am Mandy Del Rio. You are watching the Indie Lounge, and to find out more about us, you can go to www.indieloungetv.com. You can go to Facebook, that's Indie Lounge TV on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at Indie Lounge TV. My email, mandy@indieloungetv.com for any ideas, show ideas, submissions. Totally open. And Todd, I want to thank you so much again, and that wraps up our show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Frank Walker. Life has never been easy for me. I have no job, no friends, no girlfriend. But then everything changed when I met Charlie.